Hi everyone, this is Gabriel Sansão and this is Schellingtubers. We're working with the System of Transcendental Idealism. It is one of Schelling's most famous works. It's from 1800 and we are now on section 3 of the introduction. On the historical critical edition, the system corresponds to volume 9 of the series 1 of Schelling's works. Series 1 corresponds to the papers Schelling has published during his life. We're working with pages from 36 to 39 this time, which corresponds to the third paragraph of the introduction, or third section, which is temporary division of transcendental philosophy. Schelling says that the division of transcendental philosophy is temporary because its principles cannot be derived from the science itself. Transcendental philosophy must make clear how is knowledge, I will translate to wissen for knowledge, how is knowledge in general possible, presupposing that the subjective be accepted as what comes first. There is no singular part or a special object, particular object of knowledge, but knowledge itself. Knowledge for the transcendental philosophy is not reducible to objects, as in scientific procedures. There is only knowledge of the whole, and knowledge is reduced to originary convictions. And transcendental philosophy must conduct those convictions back to a first principle, the first principle of this philosophy. The task of transcendental philosophy is to find a first principle of philosophy as an absolute point of certainty, by means of which all other certainties are mediated. The first originary conviction is that not only is a world of external things existent, independent of us, but also that things are not, but what we represent of them. So it is a very fortunate coincidence that things exist outside us, but also what we represent corresponds to what they are. This may seem trivial for us, but it's quite a feat that this happens. Here, Schelling seems to be advocating an objective idealistic point of view. This is a position in philosophy that we can see in philosophers, such as Plato, Aristotle, many medieval philosophers, Schelling and Hegel. According to objective idealism, there is a correspondence between reality and ideality. There is a correspondence between sensible sensible reality and a priori knowledge. So it is not a naive realism, but it is not also an extreme subjectivism, such as in Fichte and in Kant's philosophy. Another originary conviction is that representations develop in us without necessity by means of freedom, and they go from the world of thinking to the real effective world, being able to acquire objective reality. This conviction is opposed to the first. This conviction is more connected to a Kantian and Fichtean point of view, the point of view of freedom, and the effectivation, the realization of ideas by means of acts of freedom. How are these ideas compatible? According to Schelling, they must be compatible by means of a sort of pre-established harmony, or predetermined harmony is the term Schelling uses. But this is clearly pointing to Leibniz's idea of pre-established harmony, a coincidence between freedom and nature, in a Leibnizian language, between nature and grace. To Schelling, the solution to this problem helps connecting theoretical and practical philosophy. However, the solution to it doesn't seem to be neither in the theoretical aspect nor in the practical aspect. So there must be some kind of intermediate member able to connect theory and practice. That's a member that can be both at the same time. Is it teleology? Is it aesthetics? Or maybe both? Here we can see that Schelling is close to the Third Critique, to Kant's critique of judgment, the Kritik der Urteilskraft, a work from 1790, in which Kant tries to connect the realms the apparently disconnected realms of nature and freedom. If Schelling can try to do this, he is overcoming a blank space in Kant's philosophy, a bracket in Kant's philosophy. And that is part of the German idealists project, to overcome the Kantian dualisms and the radical separation between freedom and nature, between ideal and real in a Schellingian language. Well, there is a kind of activity to Schelling that can connect. There are two kinds of activity that connect nature and freedom. One of them is the productive activity of the organism. The organism follows ends, it is purposive, but it doesn't seem to be so, it seems to be determined. So the philosophy of natural purposes, Naturheitszwecke, or teleology, is the point of unification between theory and practice. This passage, here I am on page 39, keeps a large resemblance to the Kantian Third Critique, as I mentioned, and also to the 16th paragraph or section of the Schellingian text on the I as principle of philosophy, or from Ich als Prinzip der Philosophie, a text from 1795, when Schelling was still a student in Tübingen, in the Tübingen seminar. Well, and Schelling mentions also that the transcendental philosophy is only completed if its identity can be shown in its principle, or in the I, if the identity between real and ideal, between spirit and nature, between intelligence and nature, subjective and objective, representation and object, if it can be proven or demonstrated on the I. So, Schelling postulates that in the subjective, every activity must be indicated as simultaneously conscious and unconscious. And one activity where this is clearer, more evident to us, is the aesthetic activity. And each work of art to Schelling is something that can be conceived as a product of such unconscious and conscious activity. The ideal world of art and the real world of objects are the product of one and the same activity. To Schelling, there is poetry and art. Poetry is the unconscious part of artistic creation, and art is the conscious part of artistic creation. This is further developed in the following section, and especially on the section 6 of the work itself. So I will arrive there eventually. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Next week we'll be back with the ideas, and in a couple of weeks we'll go to the final section of the introduction on the organ of transcendental philosophy, which is art. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I will see you soon.